Hi children, welcome to my channel Orion. In this channel, you can expect videos in economics which will help 10th standard students who appear the board examination. Dear children, I have made sincere efforts to explain the concepts and terms in economics in an easy and simple way. Please share and subscribe. Okay? Today, we will be discussing about the remaining part of the lesson development. And the first topic is how to compare different countries or states. For comparing the countries or states, income is one of the most important attribute. Generally speaking, we say that the countries with a higher income are called as developed countries and those with low income are called as less developed countries. It is based on the understanding that money is very important, and if more money means more developed. More money means people are able to purchase all the things they need. That means human wants are satisfied to the fullest extent so they can get more development. And earning more income is the primary goal of almost all the people to attain development. Now, how can we make a comparison between the countries? To make a comparison, we should know the income of the countries. What is the income of the country? Or what do you mean by the total income of the country? The total income of the country is the income of all the residents living in that country. It is also the total value of all the goods and services produced in a country in a year. But here the question is total income a useful measure for comparing the development between countries? No. Total income is not at all a useful measure because total income may not tell us what an average person is likely to earn. So, average income is used for comparing development between the different countries or states. Now, what is average income? What do you mean by average income, or how to calculate average income? Average income is calculated by dividing the total income of a country by its population. This average income is also called as per capita income. Once again, let me repeat children. National income refers to the value of the total goods and services produced within a country in a year, and per capita income is derived by dividing the total national income by the total population. Now, children, we have to think whether per capita income is a suitable measure or whether it is sufficient for comparison between countries. If you ask me, I will say it has some problems. Average income has various limitations. Now, what are the limitations of per capita income as an indicator of economic development? The first point is, per capita income does not tell us anything about the distribution of income. That means, per capita income doesn't tell us how the income is distributed among the people in a country. A poor country with a more equitable distribution of income would be better than a richer country with unequal distribution of income. You know, the total income of the country is distributed among the different people in a country. Who has more income or who has less income? Can we calculate it by noting the per capita income? Can we make a comparison? No, we can't. Now, also, the per capita income does not measure the various facilities and services that influence quality of life. It is also affected by the size of population. average income, one of the main problem of the average income is average income may hide disparities. Disparities means differences between people. This can be explained with the help of an example. You can see a tabular column. In the given tabular column, you can find two columns. In the first column, you can see we have two countries, country A and country B. So here, for simplicity, we are taking two countries, country A and country B, and we are assuming that these two countries have only 5 citizens. In country A, look at the income of the 5 citizens. The first citizen earns 9,500 rupees, second citizen 10,500, third citizen 9,800, fourth citizen 10,000 and fifth citizen 10,200 rupees. There is no much difference or much variation between the income of these 4 citizens. And the average income of this country is 10,000. Now look at the second country, that is country B. Here, first, second, third and fourth citizens earn only rupees 500. But just look at the fifth citizen. What is the income of the fifth citizen? It is 48,000 rupees. So here, the first 4 citizens are very poor and the last, that is the fifth citizen, is extremely rich. He earns the maximum income, that is rupees 48,000. But look at the average, it is again 10,000 rupees. So if we say that among the two countries, country A and B, if you ask which country you will prefer to live, I will select country A because there is less disparities, there is an equitable distribution of income. So from this example, we can understand that average income had disparities. Now the per capita income is used for making a comparison between the countries, and the World Bank has classified the countries of the world into different categories based on the per capita income, and it publishes the World Development Report. Based on this report of World Bank, countries are categorized into 4: low income, lower middle income, upper middle income and higher income. Low income countries earn per capita income up to 1,025 US dollar. Lower middle income countries earn per capita income between 1,026 to 3,995 US dollars. Now upper middle income countries earn a per capita income between 3,996 to 12,375 US dollars, and the fourth category is high income countries. High income countries earn a per capita income of above US dollar 12,375 per year. Children, do you know which category does India belong? India belongs to lower middle income group category of countries with a per capita income of 1,840 US dollars. You know, this report, World Development Report, is on the basis of the report given by the World Bank in July 2019. Now, apart from income, there are many other criteria. We understood that per capita income has lot of problems, and it is not the only criterion behind human development. There are many other factors which influence human development, like health and education. So, factors like infant mortality rate, literacy rate and net attendance ratio also are very crucial for overall human economic development. Now, this could be explained with again another example. Look at this tabular column, children. In this tabular column, we have the per capita income of 3 states. Okay, the 3 states are Haryana, Kerala and Bihar. This data is based on the data given by the NSSO in 2015 to 16. According to this, Haryana has a per capita income of 1,62,034 rupees. Kerala has a per capita income of 1,40,190 rupees. And Bihar has a per capita income of 31,454. Looking at this tabular column, we can say that Haryana has more per capita income than Kerala and Bihar. So Haryana is more developed. Can we come to a conclusion that Haryana is more developed compared to Kerala? Only looking at the per capita income? No, it is not a correct measure. So let us see some more data. Now look at this example, this tabular column. It is also taken from your textbook, children. In this tabular column, we have made a comparison between the same 3 states, Haryana, Kerala and Karnataka. Now look at the first column. It is infant mortality rate. What do you mean by infant mortality rate or IMR? Infant mortality rate indicates the number of children or infants that die before completing the age of 1 year as a proportion of 1,000 live children born in a particular year in that particular region. So if we make a comparison between the infant mortality rate, Haryana has 33 in the year 2016 and Kerala 10 and Bihar 38. So from this we could understand that Kerala has less infant mortality rate, that is 10, and Haryana is having more. So we can understand that Kerala has provided better medical facilities and health facilities. It has adequate health and medical facilities than Haryana. So Haryana has per capita income higher, but it lags behind in medical and health facilities while comparing Kerala. Now look at the next column. It is literacy rate. Children, do you know what is literacy rate? What do you mean by literacy rate? Yeah. It measures the proportion of literate population in the 7 and above age group. That means the people who know to read and write. Now let us see the data. Literacy rate is 82 for Haryana, Kerala it is 94 and Bihar it is 62. So again it is clear that Kerala is having a higher literacy rate than Haryana. Haryana has only 82%. And the third column tells you about the net attendance ratio per 100 persons. What is net attendance ratio? It is the total number of children in the age group or between the age group 14 to 15 years attending school as a percentage of total number of children in the same age group. I repeat once again, it is the total number of children of age group 14 and 15 years attending school as a percentage of total number of children in the same age group. So that also is higher. Net attendance ratio is also higher in Kerala. That is, it is 83% compared to Haryana. So we could understand that more number of children in the age group 14 to 15 years are attending school in Kerala than Haryana. So from this data, we can understand that income is not the only criterion for measuring and comparing the development between the states or countries. There are other factors like health and education. Health and education also plays an important role in an individual's development. Now children, let us come to the next topic, public facilities. What are public facilities? Facilities that are provided by the government free of cost or at subsidized rates are referred to as public facilities. You may be rich or poor. Okay? You may be belonging to a rich family or a poor family. The money which you have or the money in your purse or pocket may not be able to fulfill all your needs. For example, let me tell you, the road we use, the public road we use, the transportation we use, the health facilities we use cannot be purchased by us. With the money we have, we cannot purchase a clean and pollution-free surrounding or environment. We cannot be free from infectious diseases like corona. Now, it is the season of COVID-19, and can an individual make an individual effort to get rid of this infectious diseases, this pandemic situation? No. So, we know that there are certain collective wants. Some wants are called as collective wants because they are needed for all the people, not a separate individual. Not you and me alone. It is needed for all the people. And who is responsible for providing these common needs or common services? It is the government. And these facilities we call as public facilities, which are needed for all to live well. So money in one pocket cannot buy all the goods and services that are needed to live well. And these facilities are also needed for maintaining law and order, cleanliness, quality of life, access and comforts to common man. So this facilities help in bringing up people and give them more opportunities. When you say opportunities, public facilities are needed for providing mainly employment opportunities. You know, there is a department called Public Works Department, Central Public Works Department and State Public Works Department, which is responsible for providing all these transportation and other facilities. Now, public facilities are also essential for the social and economic development of individuals. For example, let me tell you some examples of public facilities. They are roads, railways, electricity, water, education facilities, housing and nutritious food. Children, I think you might have got an idea about the public facilities, and they are collectively used by all the people, and it is needed for the overall development of all people for their well-being. Now let us come to the next topic. It is the Human Development Report. What is this Human Development Report? Or what is HDI? HDI is Human Development Index. HDI is a statistical tool developed by United Nations to measure countries' overall achievement in its social and economic dimension. This Human Development Report was published by the UNDP, United Nations Development Program, to compare countries based on educational levels of the people, their health status and per capita income. Now, HDI ranks countries on the basis of three criteria. The first one is per capita income, the second one health of the people, the third one level of education and their standard of living. So once again, let me repeat, children. HDI is a statistical tool developed by UNDP, that is United Nations Development Program, and it is ranking countries on the basis of per capita income, health of people, level of education and their standard of living. Now you can see the data given in the tabular column. It is also taken from our textbook. You can see there is a comparison made between India and its neighboring countries. You can see Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's rank, HDI rank is 76 and India's rank is 130. That is according to the data, 2018 data. Now, what are the indicators for measuring this HDI as devised by the UNDP. The first one is per capita income that we have already discussed, and you can see the per capita income of Sri Lanka is 11,326, whereas India it is 6,353. But now the second factor is health. That is, when I say health, the indicator here is life expectancy at birth. What is life expectancy at birth, children? Life expectancy at birth indicates, life expectancy at birth denotes, as the name suggests itself, it is the average expected longevity or length of life of a person at the time of birth. That means when a child is born, for how many years he is expected to live. Maybe it is 70 or 75. And you know, as per the latest data, India's life expectancy rate is 69 years. Now the second, and you know, here the Sri Lanka's life expectancy is 75.5, whereas India's it is 68.8. And the third criteria is mean years of schooling of people aged 25 and above, and the data is given in the year 17. What do you mean by mean years of schooling? That means how many years, that is, the people are attending, for how many years they are in the schools, that is a primary level, secondary level or higher secondary level. How many years they are able to, they have been enrolled as students in school and they are been in school. That is gross enrollment ratio or number of years they are. So that is also different. It is for Sri Lanka it is 10.9, India it is 6.4, and but you can see the other countries also. For Myanmar 4.9, Pakistan 5.2, Nepal 4.9, and Bangladesh 5.8. And look at India, it is 6.4 mean years of schooling. That is 6.4. So here the HDI rank, if you compare the HDI rank, we can say that the small neighboring country Sri Lanka has a higher rank than India. Maybe the difference may be due to the huge population in India. Even though India is developed, industrially developed, agriculturally developed, we are a highly populated country. India is a highly populated country, so maybe the development is not fully achieved by all the people. So here now we are coming to the next topic, that is body mass index. What is body mass index? Body mass index is a way to find out if adults are undernourished. So to calculate the BMI, we have to take the weight of the person in kilogram and then take the height in meters. Divide the weight by square of the height. We get BMI. And if after calculating this BMI, if the BMI is below 18.5, if the BMI is below 18.5, if it is below 18.5, the weight status is underweight. That person will be underweight. If the BMI is between 18.5 to 24.9, the person is considered he is having a normal weight, children. Okay. And if the weights body mass index is above or between 25.0 to 29.9, the person is considered as an overweight person. And beyond that or above that, above 30, we say that the person is suffering from obesity problem. Now children, you may get a doubt, why body mass index? Why we should calculate the body mass index, and how does it help to compare the development of people? I already told you that it's a way to find out if adults are undernourished, right? This is not suitable for growing children. You should understand that, because a growing child weight will vary very rapidly. Height also increases rapidly. So we cannot take this BMI for children, growing children. It is suitable only for adults. First point is that. And now another thing is, by knowing the BMI, we can understand the financial status of individuals. We can make a comparison between individuals. If, for example, if the BMI of a person is a normal in a family, if there are 5 members, and if the BMI is between above 18.5 or it is above 25, means we can find out that that family is having suitable living condition. They are able to provide at least 3 times meal a day, and they are having nutritious food. Okay, so like this the comparison is made with the help of BMI. So that is also a way to measure development. Here we can understand the individual development of people. Now finally we are coming to the last topic of the chapter, children. It is the sustainable development or sustainability of development. Sustainable development. What do you mean by sustainable development? Sustainable development refers to the development without hampering the needs of future generation. We know that we need resources for our life, isn't it? We need natural resources. The natural resources are generally of 2 types: renewable resources and non-renewable resources. Renewable resources means that can be replenished quickly. That means they can be reproduced quickly. For example, water, rainwater. Water in the rivers, wells, tanks and etc. can be replenished naturally through rain, through water cycle. So it is a renewable natural resource. Whereas non-renewable natural resource, let me tell you an example, that is petroleum or crude oil. It is a non-renewable natural resource. Now, people are using the natural resources for fulfilling or to attain development. Yeah, that is for agricultural and industrial development. So what is sustainable development? It refers to the development of a country without hampering the needs of future generation, without compromising the needs of future generation, using the present available resources, but with keeping something, preserving something or saving something for future generation. It is a concept of durable development carried out by limiting the needs of the present so that the future generation may enjoy the benefits of nature to the fullest. Means keeping something for future, our children, grandchildren. So here, since the second half of the 20th century, many scientists have warned that the present development is not sustainable, because in many countries there is overuse of resources. For example, there is overuse of water resources, overuse of underground water, especially in agricultural areas. The farmers are constructing more and more bore wells, and they are maximum utilizing the underground water. So there is a threat in future we will not have enough water. Maybe our late president Sri APJ Abdul Kalam has once mentioned that if at all a third world war would happen, it may be for the cause of water. So here we have to make a proper planning, a judicious planning or judicious use of natural resources. Now, the phenomenon of development is perennial, means continuous. It is not stagnant, it is continuous. Development should continue. So sustainability of development is important because the consequences of environmental degradation do not respect national or state boundaries. So overuse of land, overuse of water and other natural resources may lead to environmental degradation, causing environmental problems, causing problems for our future generation. So that environmental problem will not affect a particular country like India or America or China or Japan. So it do not respect national or state boundaries. We are all linked together. All countries of the world are linked together. We are not independent, we are interdependent. So all that works and efforts taken by us will affect the other persons also. So here it is perennial. So sustainability of development is very, very important. Now let us see a tabular column which is given in our textbooks. That is an example for how the oil reserves are getting depleted. That is crude oil reserves. Here you find 3 columns. In the first column you can see Middle East countries. Middle East countries oil reserves, as per the 2017 data, it is having 808,000 million barrels. And in this column they have shown for how many years it will be lasting. It will last for 70 years. And United States of America has 50,000 million barrels, and it might last for 10.5. That means 10 years and 5 months. Again, overall in the world, what is the oil reserves, crude oil reserves? It is 1,697 million barrels, and it might last for nearly half a century. That is 50 years, 50 years and 2 months. So countries like India, we don't have oil reserves. We are borrowing or we are buying it from the other countries. So from this we can understand that in the near future we are going to face scarcity of petroleum oil, which is affecting the industrial development and even the agricultural development. So sustainability of development is very important. And let me conclude with a quoting which is again taken from our textbook. We have not inherited the world from our forefathers. We have borrowed it from children. Yes, children, really. We didn't get anything from our ancestors or from our forefathers. We have borrowed it from our children. That means from our generation. We have borrowed the natural resources from our generation. If we borrow something, we have to return it back without damaging it. It is the duty of everyone, each and everyone's duty, to use the resources in a judicious way and keep it preserved for future generation. With this, I conclude my talk. Thank you.